The idea more is better only has validity when it comes to money and pretty girls.
The bodybuilding world tried to erase one man from history. For decades, they repeated the same formula. More sets, more hours, more exhaustion. But one man broke that rule, and his method was so effective, so disruptive, that the industry tried to bury it. Today, we uncover the system they never wanted you to hear about. Who was MikeMentzer? Before the debates, before the controversies, before the philosophy that shook bodybuilding, there was simply MikeMentzer, a young, sharp-minded athlete who questioned everything. He wasn't the typical muscle-first bodybuilder. Mike read philosophy, studied biology, and approached training the way a scientist approaches a problem.
Well, it's one of those proverbial, often heard stories in bodybuilding. I was at a drugstore with my mother in my hometown of Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and while she was off doing some shopping, I was looking over the magazines, and all of a sudden my attention was arrested by the sight of a muscle man. And I knew instantly, there was no lag time, this is what I was going to be, and it was a love affair, and I've been doing it ever since.
He believed every rep, every set, every decision inside a gym should be backed by logic, not just tradition. After winning Mr. Universe with a perfect score, a rare achievement, he began teaching others not just how to train, but why their bodies responded the way they did. Seminars, interviews, lectures, all packed with his heavy-duty principles. People didn't just see him as a champion, they saw him as someone who understood the body deeper than the sport itself. That's what made him different, and that's exactly what made him controversial. At the center of Mentzer's system is one idea: intensity is everything.
The effort required and builds strength and size. That last rep is very special. It's the only rep that requires 100% intensity of effort.
He believed the human body doesn't grow from doing more sets, more reps, and more exercises. It grows from one thing, a powerful stimulus. And that stimulus comes from one all-out set taken to true muscular failure. If a single set is performed with absolute focus, perfect form, slow negatives, and no cheating, he argued it could outperform an entire hour of traditional high-volume training. Intensity, not volume, creates adaptation, he repeated in nearly every lecture. This wasn't a slogan. It was a direct challenge to decades of advice from magazines, gyms, and even legends of the sport. Mike didn't believe in endless sets. He didn't believe in chasing the pump. He believed in doing enough to stimulate growth and then letting the body recover, because that's where the real development happens. Heavy duty is built on 3 pillars: absolute intensity, minimal volume, and maximum recovery.
Pec deck for 6 to 10 reps to failure. Now from here on, you won't have to write the words to failure, as that is a given, and 6 to 10 reps is merely a suggested guideline. There is nothing magic about the number 10. If you reach 10, but you see you might go to 13 reps to failure, don't stop at 10, go to 13. And at the other end, if you see by rep 3, you won't reach even 6 reps, but only 4 or 5, don't stop and reload. Get 4 or 5, the next time you'll likely get 6 to 10. And if you don't have access to a pec deck, then flat bench dumbbell flies or cable crosses may be substituted.
Every exercise is performed with near-perfect form. No swinging on curls, no bouncing during presses, no momentum. The goal is muscle tension, not ego lifting. Each rep is deliberate, lifting with control, lowering even slower, and squeezing the muscle through the full range. And then comes the defining moment, one brutal set to absolute failure. This is not the casual failure most lifters claim. This is the point where the weight stops moving, even though you're giving everything you have. Sometimes the spotter assists through a last negative. Sometimes the lifter holds the weight as long as possible on the final rep. That one set is meant to push the muscle further than it has ever been pushed before. After that, you stop. You don't go again. You don't add volume. You don't chase a pump. You let recovery take over.
Your daily average caloric intake. You must also weigh yourself at the beginning of day 1 and on the morning of day 6. If you didn't gain or lose during that 5-day period, your daily average is also your daily maintenance level of calories.
This is where the conflict began. Bodybuilding in the 70s and 80s was built on volume. Dozens of sets, long workouts, hours in the gym. Magazines promoted high-volume routines because they filled pages. Gyms promoted them because more hours meant more memberships. The industry thrived on the idea that more is better. Then comes MikeMentzer saying, no, more is actually worse.
More is better means more is better. There's a built-in guarantee you can't fail. If 20 sets are good, if 20 sets give you good results, then why stop there? 40 will give you even better, and 80 even better still, and 120 better still, and just keep training on to infinity. Just take off of work for 3 months, train 18 hours a day, and in 3 months you'll look like Dorian Yates. We'll all succeed.
He wasn't selling miracle supplements. He wasn't promoting long routines. He wasn't offering shortcuts. He was telling people to train less, train smarter, and rely on science rather than repetition. To the industry, that was unacceptable. To athletes, it was confusing. To critics, it was dangerous. And that's how his philosophy became something the sport wanted to silence. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well for people willing to push themselves. The science behind it, Mentzer explained training through biology, not tradition. Muscles don't grow during the workout. They grow during rest, when the body repairs the micro tears caused by intense effort.
First thing your body does after the workout is not grow, but recover. When you're done working out, you don't feel the same as you did before the workout, do you? No, you're exhausted. Something was used up. The first thing the body does after the workout is put back what was used up, restore, replenish, refurbish, recover, or as I like to say, compensate for the exhaustive effects of the workout. That takes time. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes. It can take several days for some people.
If you keep training before recovery is complete, you interrupt this process and stall progress. That's why so many lifters were stuck. They trained too much and recovered too little. He often said, muscle growth doesn't happen during training. It happens when you're not training. This single idea changes everything. If the body needs time to repair, then giving it more damage through high volume only delays the adaptation process. Heavy duty wasn't about doing less work. It was about doing the right work. Once. Quick favor while you're here. If all this is clicking, and you want more old school training broken down into step-by-step lessons, hit subscribe and tap the bell. It helps the channel, and it keeps you learning while you grow. People challenged him constantly. One set can't be enough. You need more volume. You need more frequency. Mike had one answer. If one set to failure feels insufficient, you didn't train hard enough.
Once you understand the theory of high-intensity training and learn to implement the principles properly, you'll see progress, not unpredictably in tiny dribbles every now and then, but every workout.
He didn't mean using sloppy form or heavier weights than you can handle. He meant pushing the muscle to its true biological limit, something most lifters never experience because it's uncomfortable, humbling, and intense beyond expectation. In seminars, trainees admitted they'd never gone as far as they thought they had. Heavy duty exposed that gap between perceived effort and real effort. What made Mentzer's system forbidden wasn't that it was dangerous or extreme, it was that it broke the business model of bodybuilding. He openly criticized steroid abuse. He talked about genetic limitations. He refused to promise unrealistic results. He told people that supplements were unnecessary. He told the truth even when people didn't want to hear it.
Training is the first requirement. Nutrition is only a secondary consideration. It is only within the context of first having stimulated growth through proper high-intensity training that nutrition then becomes a factor, and then it's quite simple once again. All you've got to do is get a well-balanced diet, which can be obtained by consuming a certain number of portions each day from the 4 basic food groups.
Bodybuilding wanted followers, not thinkers. Mentzer wanted thinkers, not followers. That combination made him an outsider, a man with ideas too honest for an industry that relied on myths. Even today, you can still find clips of him teaching the system himself. The heavy-duty seminars where Mike breaks down each exercise with slow, controlled reps. The 1998 lecture where he answers skeptical questions with complete calm. But the question is, why did they try to erase him? The 1991 interview where he explains the real political issue that his method tried to eliminate.
But an important point, Anthony, I did not train for hours and hours every day. This is an important issue.
Oh, okay.
Contrary to what most bodybuilders do, which is train 2 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, to obtain that condition, I trained literally for 30 minutes 4 times a week, 2 hours a week.
Yeah, because the theory that you always hear is that it does require hours and hours to look like that.
The mistaken premise there is that more is better. And the body doesn't necessarily work that way. If 2 hours or 4 hours a day were good, well, why not train 12 hours a day? Training is a form of stress, and up to a certain point in time, exposing the body to stress can be beneficial. But beyond a definite period of time, it can actually be detrimental.
You hear him repeat the same principle in every seminar, every training clip, every lecture. Less time in the gym, more intensity in every rep. The same message he reinforces again in the 1991 interview, where he calmly explains the real problem. Bodybuilders spending hours in the gym, destroying their progress, while his method demanded the opposite. Short, focused, brutally hard training. These recordings are raw, honest, uncut, and that's exactly why they're impossible to ignore. MikeMentzer left behind an entire library of recordings, books, and interviews that still guide lifters today. He never backed down from his belief that logic, science, and discipline were more important than tradition. He asked one question that still challenges lifters today. Are you training for improvement, or are you just staying busy? His answer always pointed back to one idea: recovery is the key.
Those utilizing the blind, non-theoretical volume approach to training are continuously fretting as to whether they'll ever achieve their goal of bigger muscles or not, because they know nothing, literally nothing, about the nature of the training stress required to stimulate growth, or that the volume and frequency of weight training exercise must be cautiously regulated.
Even decades later, his message stands strong. Simple, direct, and backed by both biology and results. Mentzer didn't train like his competitors. He trained less, but harder.
You will start by training once every 4 days on a 4-workout protocol. So, if you start on a Monday, that means you wouldn't train again till Friday. After Friday, you wouldn't train again till Tuesday, then Saturday, and so forth, once every 4 days. And if a scheduling problem arises, so that you can't make it into the gym on day 4, take off 1 more day and train on day 5. Also, once you've been with the program for 3 weeks or so, start inserting an additional rest day or 2, even at random.
Each session was short and intense, often lasting under 30 minutes. 1 exercise per muscle group, 1 set per exercise, 1 trip to absolute failure. He emphasized slow negatives, sometimes 6 to 8 seconds on the eccentric. He insisted on full control during every rep, and he refused to compromise form even when the weight got heavy. He often said, if you can't reach true muscular failure in 1 set, then the set wasn't intense enough. Rest wasn't optional in his system. It was the engine that powered growth.
Let's assume, hypothetically, that your daily maintenance level of calories turns out to be 2,100. Upon starting the suggested routine, make a conscientious, disciplined daily effort to keep your calories 300 to 500 above the maintenance level. If you don't, you'll maintain, you won't gain.
Mentzer's diet was surprisingly simple. He preferred whole, clean foods, lean protein, moderate carbs, balanced fats, eggs, fish, chicken, dairy, vegetables, fruit, whole grains, no complicated supplement stacks, no extreme meal timings. Supplements should be minimal, he often said. Food fuels growth, not pills. Caloric intake depended on recovery needs. Gemein, enough to grow, not so much that it created unnecessary fat gain. Hydration was a priority. Consistency mattered more than trends. He believed the body was a machine that needed proper fuel, but not gimmicks. Everything comes back to intensity and recovery. Intensity triggers growth. Recovery completes it.
Localized muscle recovery actually is completed fairly quickly, with systemic recovery taking up to 4 days or longer in some cases. Haven't you had a heavy leg workout, say on a Friday, Dave, then intentionally rested all weekend thinking you'd be fully recovered? But instead, you woke up on Monday still generally fatigued? See what I mean?
Yes, indeed, and I've had that experience.
Heavy duty works not because it's different, but because it aligns with how muscles actually respond. A muscle trained beyond its limit needs time to rebuild stronger. Overtraining blunts that process. Rest enhances it. Muscle growth doesn't happen during training. It happens when you're not training, he said repeatedly. And even now, decades later, science continues to support that message. Slow negatives, controlled reps, and one decisive set remain effective tools for strength and hypertrophy. Slow negatives, perfect form, complete focus. That is heavy duty, he concluded. And that is why it works. So that's the truth behind a method most people were never supposed to hear about. If heavy duty shocked you even a little, drop A in the comments. And before you scroll, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still wastes 2 hours in the gym every day. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one.